So for the next 4 questions, I'm going to show you how I would do it on Excel. So let's just pull out the important information from this little paragraph here. So the mean is 43,000. So I'm just going to write mean 43,000. And we have a standard deviation of 15,000. So I'm going to do SD of 15,000. Now that we have everything written out, which I think that is the first thing you should do when approaching any problem is write everything you have out. Now we can move on to the actual question. So number 27 is saying they want to know what % of high school teachers make more than 60,000. So the key word here is more than. That means we're calculating to the right. And when we're calculating to the right, I'm just going to write this here. So right equals, you have to do one minus, right? Okay. So right or more, because we have the keyword more than here. So right or more than, that means we have to do one minus. And since we are looking for a probability, that means we have to use norm.dist. Okay, so we can start solving this problem. So we do equals 1 minus, because we said we're calculating more than, so 1 minus norm.dist. We're using norm.dist because we're looking for a probability. We'll have our x value. Our x value is 60,000. That's what's given to us here. Our mean, 43,000. I'm going to cell reference that. Standard deviation, 15,000. And then comma 1 or true. And there we go. So to turn this number into a %, because they're asking for a %, we can just click here, click %, and we want it to 2 decimal places. So we can just increase the decimal places there. And we have 12.85. So that is our answer, 12.85. Now we can move on to 28. So 28 says, Johnny has been a teacher only for 2 years. Despite being new as a teacher, his salary is already in the top 10%. So Johnny must be making at least how much? So again, because we're looking at the top 10%, top is the same as right or more than. So that means we need to do 1 minus. Since we are given a percentage and we're looking for an x value, that means we're going to be using norm.inverse. So let me just repeat that again. Because we're given a % and we're looking for an x value, we use norm.inverse. Okay, so I'm going to do norm.inverse. And right now, I'm just going to point out that whenever you use norm.inverse, the 1 minus has to go on the inside of the parentheses. Okay, so in this case, we're going to do norm.inverse 1 minus 0.1. If this were a norm.dist problem, which hopefully you guys remember from problem 27, when we did 1 minus, our 1 minus was on the outside, meaning we did 1 minus norm.dist. So whenever you're using norm.dist and you need to do more than, and you're doing 1 minus, the 1 minus has to be on the outside. So 1 minus norm.dist. If you're using norm.inverse, the 1 minus has to be inside of the parentheses. So like this, norm.inverse 1 minus 0.1. If you put 1 minus on the outside for norm.inverse, meaning you do 1 minus norm.inverse, you're not going to get the right answer. So just be careful with that. Okay, so norm.inverse 1 minus 0.1, our mean, which is here, our standard deviation here. And there we go. So we want to round to the nearest dollar. So I'm going to click here and we can do this. So that's the nearest dollar. That matches with answer choice D. Okay. And I'm just going to highlight the right answer here. Okay. Moving on to 29. So now we're looking at the bottom 25%. So if we're looking at the bottom 25%, we do not need to use the 1 minus because the bottom means to the left and Excel naturally calculates to the left. So we don't have to use 1 minus, we just use the regular norm dot inverse function. Again, we use norm dot inverse because we're given a percentage. Whenever we're given a percentage and we're looking for an X value, we're going to use norm dot inverse. So I'm just going to put norm dot inverse, and since we have bottom, which is the same as like left, we just use, I'm just going to say regular norm dot inverse. So like you don't have to do the 1 minus. That's what I mean here. Okay. So we're going to do equals norm dot inverse. And our probability is 0.25, 25%, right? Our mean is 43,000, standard deviation 15,000, and there we go. And we want to round to the nearest dollar. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be the nearest dollar. So let's just do this. And there we go. So this matches with B. Okay. Now let's look at the last problem, number 30. It's saying Adam is a high school teacher and makes 78,000. What is the z-score? So hopefully, guys, you remember this formula. The z-score formula is x minus mean divided by standard deviation. So in this case, our x is 78,000, right? It's given to us right here. So we're going to make sure you have the parentheses in the right place. So 78,000 minus the mean divided by standard divided by the standard deviation. And there we go. I want to round to 2 decimal places. So again, we can just do this, right? So we get 2.33, and that's our answer.